Thank you very much.
Can we hear it one more time for Grupo Bella? Good afternoon. My name is Gabriela Valle. I'm an advocate for social justice. My focus is in reproductive justice for about 20 years. So I'm happy to be joining you today. So on behalf of all the organizers, we want to thank you for being here. We expect people are going to probably continue to join us the rest of this afternoon. But with that, I'm going to ask Jan Robinson Flint and Marilyn Fowler to come up and get us officially started for this afternoon.
Good afternoon. I come from the call and response community. If I say good afternoon, that means I'm waiting for a response. There we go. Good afternoon. So, Jan Robinson Flint. I work with an organization called Black Women for Wellness, but today the hat I'm wearing is co-chair of Women's Intercultural Network. We met Marilyn 1995. Yeah. 1995, and that's when we all made a journey to Beijing, China for the Fourth World Conference on Women, and I guess they decided not to bring 40,000 women together again, but that's where we met, and that's how we have been knitting our network together since then. I have been working with the network of folks in California and talking about some of the circles that we bring together in California, where we try to build bridges and networks between the very many cultures and ethnicities that we find here in California, or Los Angeles for me in particular. But welcome, and I'll let Marilyn tell you how we got here today.
Thank you, Jan. I have been in this area just 4 months, so I had my initiation today of LA highway traffic. And right. But I'm so happy to be here, and I'm really excited to move back to Southern California, which is where I started. And that's when I met Rosemary Straley, who's San Diego, and I was in San Diego 10 years. But I want to thank a whole lot of people, and we'll do that during the day. And they are all listed, of course, on your program. And, oh, I just realized I still have my sunglasses. It's
okay.
tacky. Right. And as Jan said, the California Women's Agenda was formed after the Beijing conference. We came back and people started calling Women's Intercultural Network and saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to implement this global platform? Because WIN wasn't a single issue organization. So we said, okay, we'll do that. And we ended up with about 30 counties at one point, and they've now merged more into regions. And we had at one point 800 organizations throughout California, and we're not sure where some of those are. We have lost track, others have joined, but we do have a network of California Women's Agendas still operating, and one of the things we will have for you after this event, which we will be talking about, is the California Women's Agenda going forward. And those agendas every 5 years are reviewed and they go to the UN. And Soon Young Yoon, who is our special guest today, can tell you more about how that works locally and globally. Now, our theme today is bringing the global local, which is what we did with the California Agenda. What we're bringing locally now is CEDAW. How many people know what CEDAW is? God, I'm proud of you. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And we know that as a tool, that is what we can do to bring women equality all over the world. And we've started here in California, and it's going to spread globally, and we'll be talking more about that. So we're also celebrating. Now, I know people think this is not a celebratory time. Actually, we have a lot to celebrate, and we want you to think about what you have celebrated. You can celebrate this year, and we're going to ask you later on that. So we hope you enjoy yourself. We have a very full program. We are being filmed by Jeffrey, which we're behind the camera, thank you. And we have all of our very high-level tech audio visual by Chris here from Cisco. And one of the things that's going to happen, and why we have to stay on time, is at 5:15, we are going to stream live to San Francisco, where our organization still has a base up there also. And we are going to have Soon Young. We're sending her viral at 5:15. So you all will be part of our new experience. So again, we hope you enjoy the day, and people will be coming in and out as we do in California. So I'm going to turn you back over to Gabby now for the next part of our program. And we will be back with you later. Thank you.
We're going to watch a 5-minute video clip. For those of us who, like myself, don't go as far back with the group and don't know everything that's happened from the Beijing meeting forward. So we're going to see some clips that will help give us some grounding and background in these issues. Thank you so much.
Shut. I won't turn my ears off. I will be it's almost like a holographic process, because even in this room where there are only 30 people, we have all these diverse elements that are so complementary to each other once people start really communicating. I mean, really magical things that have started to happen in this room today.
And that is that we really need to make a statement, and in that statement, ask for what we want, not be based on what has happened before, not based on limitations before, because I think that where we're coming from is we've been in a box as to how things have been seen and how things have been done. What we're trying to accomplish here is to get out of that box and to create what we want. And in order to do that, we must be the visionaries to see what we want and ask for what we want, and not be, asking for permission. Is it okay for us to be able to do this for the girl child? Okay, we've been doing that for a long time. So I think what we need to do is to come up with a statement that would be inclusive, with enough things in it that we say what we want. Just ask for what we want. That's what men do. They ask for what they want, and they don't equivocate on it.
Actually, the Women's Intercultural Network, the purpose is to build a circle of a woman around the world.
Right.
And in this, we want to connect Afghan women with American women, Uganda and Japan, in order to, so they can do exchange of information, exchange of technical assistance, so they can help and support each other. So when we visit around some of the women organizations, we saw there is a lot of need for establishing a political party for women.
And the community of human rights, the women are saying that the community of human rights is a kind of community that helps human beings, that helps all the people around the world.
Greetings to you as you gather for the 53rd session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Your work is critical in furthering the rights of women around the world, and I do wish I could be there with you today. We all know that when women are equal partners with men in decision-making, our world wins. We need to continue doing everything we can to ensure that women around the world are able to achieve their full potential without roadblocks in their way. And there's no doubt that we have a lot of work to do. To that end, I'm very pleased to tell you that I'm taking on a new role this year. For the first time in history, the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee will have a subcommittee dedicated to elevating the status of women worldwide. And I'm so happy I'll be chairing this subcommittee. I'm very grateful to Senator Kerry for giving me this opportunity. I'm very pleased about it, and I hope that you are too. Through this subcommittee, I hope to shine a light on all forms of discrimination against women and work with dedicated advocates like you to improve their lives by ending persecution and giving women hope for a brighter future. One important step to achieve that would be U.S. ratification of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is something I hope we can accomplish. I so look forward to our working together to ensure that women and girls around the world do not have to live in fear, do not have to live in an atmosphere of violence where they fear that they'll be raped because they're caught in a war or caught in some kind of struggle. They shouldn't have to live in that kind of world simply because they were born female. And I'm very hopeful that through our work together, one day women will be full and equal partners with men in every single corner of our world. Thank you for all that you do, and have a great day.
Moderating this first piece, I want to introduce you to Elahe Amani. Many of you in this room already know her. I love that she shares she's an Iranian women's rights activist. She's been with WIN for 21 years. Currently is the chair of the Global Circle Women's International Network, highlighting that this year currently where some of these circles are happening is in Japan, Uganda, working with American Indians here in the U.S., working with farm workers, and in 2015 just added an Iranian women's circle. So with that, can I have all of the folks come on up and join us for this first circle and community conversations.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. It's really a pleasure to see so many familiar faces and new faces. This is, as Marilyn mentioned, this is the first year that we are celebrating Women's Equality Day here in Los Angeles. Women Intercultural Network has done that for the last 15, 20 years in San Francisco. And we decided, since we have now Iranian Circle of Women Intercultural Network and Black Women for Health, which has been in LA. Jan and I go a long time back. So we have this event in LA, and we are very pleased to have all of you here. So with that, this conversation is about the role of women in peace building, and and we have three amazing women here that we're going to have short conversation about that. I'm going to introduce them. So from the left, Miss Annie Pir Moradi is a graduate pianist from Paris Conservatory and Art and New England Conservatory in Boston. She's an international entrepreneur who is on the board of 3 nonprofit organizations in addition to her engagement in business, and speaks fluently 4 languages. She is the author of 4 books. Among many of her accomplishments, she is the founder of U.S. European Art Heritage Foundation 20 years ago, which was one of the only 4 foundations established by a woman among over 7,000 existing foundations in Germany. Annie is the co-founder and board of directors of Professionals Without Borders, affiliated with Seattle University, and also a board member of Arts for Peace. Thank you for being here. Jan Robinson Flint has been serving her community as a public health professional for over 30 years. She has attended the University of Southern California, where she received her bachelor's degree in psychology. She is a community professional at Charles Drew University, where she teaches public health professionals, doctors, and nurses about reproductive justice and the impact of health policies on minority groups. Jan is also a member of African American Studies Community Advisory at UCLA. Early in her career, she worked as a peer educator, informing women in Los Angeles, targeting HIV education and outreach to Black women. Jan is involved in the Women's Health Collaborative, California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, the African American Task Force, and the Leadership Development in Inter-Ethnic Relationship Advisory Council. And she is also the co-chair of Women Intercultural Network. Thank you. And then Fran Frost, which I have the pleasure of meeting her for the last few years, is the Peace Studies Program Director at Golden West College. She teaches courses in peace studies, conflict resolution, and leadership. She focuses on teaching peace through an understanding of human rights, ecological and economic well-being, equity, nonviolence, and intellectual transformation. Fran hosts the annual Peace Conference here at Golden West College, as well as a number of other peace-themed events and forums throughout the years. She says, I choose to become an educator because I'm committed to impacting the lives of those around me. And I believe education is a source of empowerment for individuals striving to live for their lives with integrity, fairness, self-sufficiency, and dignity. Thank you for being here. So I start with first question from Fran. There are a whole host of research, Fran, on the role of women in peace building, and that women are among the first to cross the line between divided communities. What do women add to peace process in communities on the national and global level?
Well, women, they bring a lot to the table. They are usually the ones that they are equipped, naturally with building bridges with others. They are definitely better listeners, and they are more invested to have peace because they care for the family. So knowing that violence and war and lack of conflict resolution brings a host of problems with the family that they care so much for. So they are usually the forefront of peacemakers. People like Lema Bowie from Liberia, who reached out to their counterparts, and so both Muslim and Christian women, they dressed alike in white, and then they just sat there and they didn't leave the Congress until they got a commitment for peace to end the civil war that ripped that country for years. Here in close at home, the first civil rights movement, people who really impacted civil rights, and to this day I don't know why there are women such as Diane Nash. They're not being as recognized as they should be. So they are the one who were at the forefront of civil rights movements, whether through arts, activism, and reaching out. So women usually around the world, when we are looking at, they're typically, or even abroad, Palestinian, Israeli Palestinian women are the ones that they kind of get together and they're like, enough is enough. Let's end this violence. Or in Argentina, women were the first one to step out and say, well, enough is enough. So typically around the world and at home, we see women to be peace builders because they are the first one. They are really interested to build that bridge with the other side and cross that in such a way that we can meet each other in a place that is safe and it's loving and it's a place that we can start talking about peace.
Thank you. Jan, I'm going to ask you questions about a movement that I feel very close with the goals and with the values of that movement. Black Lives Matters was created by 3 Black women, Alicia Garza, Patrice Coulter, and Pal Omar Tomati, after Trayvon Martin death in shooting police. Women have been very engaged in the Black Lives Matters movement and responses to police brutality. As we know, there is not peace without justice, right? Why women are very engaged seeking justice and peace locally?
There is no peace without justice, I'll say that. Patrice is a local woman in terms of her organization is called Dignity Now, and it is based here in Los Angeles. The organization she started was basically about the increasing number of women who have been incarcerated and how they were being treated while jailed. And I know maybe you all know that just last year in 2015, California passed a law that says you can't sterilize women in prison because women were being sterilized in prison. So that was 2015. And that was the level of inhumane treatment that was going on with women inside the prisons. So that's where she started. And I think a lot of our movements are started by women because we not only do we give life, but we are caretakers. And so we see the immediate impacts of war, not only on our bodies, but on our loved ones. And that sometimes is the impetus that drives us in that regard. The organization that I work with, Black Women for Wellness, recently did a Sisters at AIDS Circle, and the topic was seeking peace in times of war. And for that, what we did was made a list of all the women who have been killed by state violence, killed by the police. And it was absolutely astounding how long that list was. And what was even more surprising is that the majority of those killings took place in California. So so that women started Black Lives Matter and the movement for Black Lives is not surprising. When the phone call happened, where that term came up behind Trayvon Martin's murder, it was a woman, Denise Perry, who called the phone call just for a moment for us to center ourselves and think about how we find ourselves in the midst of violence at this point in time and what can we do to seek peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question for Annie. Annie, you are an accomplished woman artist who speak 4 languages and travel to more than 30 countries. In your opinion, how we can facilitate the dialogue cross-culturally among women artists for peace?
Well, it's a very interesting question, and it's difficult to give a short answer. But I think the artists are mostly actually in dialogue. And your organization, I know that you give a lot of importance actually to role of women artists. And I think I would like to mention what Friedrich von Schiller, the famous German poet and physician and philosopher, said, artists, dignity of humankind is given into your hands. Preserve it with you, it ascends, with you, it may fall. So I think this dialogue is very important, especially for artists to be aware of their important role and actually power to raise this awareness that art is not only for entertainment and joy, which is the first and most important thing in art, but actually through art, especially in this world full of prejudice, differences, and intolerance, I think women anyways have an important role as educators of the children, but women artists, again, especially have a very important role to be aware of that and to educate and cultivate the societies to be aware of the importance of the art and making it more accessible to students, to schools, to societies, and I'm very much agreeing with you, Fran, that education is actually the most important thing for the artists themselves and as educators for the society.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming back to Fran, we both work on campus. You work at Golden West College and I work at Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach for 29 years. So I want to ask you about your experience being on campus and organizing the peace conference at Golden West College in Orange County for 10 years. Actually, this year was the anniversary of 10 years organizing peace conference, which Fran organized at Golden West College. What has changed in a decade? How younger people, students respond to peace? Has the meaning peace changed for the younger people, for Gen Y and Gen Z that they're coming to campuses? Has peace come from margin to the center of attention for younger people, seeing all these conflicts that we have in today's world?
Well, we see both. I see the young generation running away from something like peace, running away and thinking that, that's all I have to do. I need to take care of myself and I need to make sure that I'm working for the Googles of the world or, and just have my education set up in such a way that I can take care of myself. There is definitely that pool is that way. But there is certainly an emergence of this young generation pulling away from ordinary, that they don't find themselves inspired by it at all. Like, they are not looking into their parents and the objectives of their parents that do put your head down and do your education and follow the path, and at the end you're going to get a job and you'll be fine, and that's so ordinary. So I see a generation that actually really pulling away from that, and they are desperate that to be given, to be helped with or empowered actually with vision of peace. So actually I see our young generation taking a lot of initiative around it, and they are bold. This generation is awesome to work with. They are bold, and they are very creative, and they want to make a difference. And as educators, our job is just to empower them. They know all the how-tos. We just need to empower them and tell them that they are on right track. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So, Jan, as a Black woman, as a community leader, what are some of the ways we can bring peace locally? What role women specifically can play in bringing sustainable peace to local community?
I think there are a number of ways that women can bring peace and sustainable peace. When you talk about young people on campus, generally speaking, there are parents who are supporting those young women on campus. So we can support our young people as they seek peace and as they struggle to create peace or to create justice. That's one thing we can do. Sometimes we also need to step out of their way. There are those of us, we've had a generation where we tried it our way, and they have some new lessons to learn and some new lessons to teach. So sometimes one of the things we can do is step out of the way for young people to really struggle to create an environment of peace, or create an environment that creates peace. When I look around now, say for instance, the Native Americans are really protesting the pipeline.
Yes.
And the thing that we can do just in terms of supporting them, in addition to sending money, send food, send energy, send good spirit, keep it circulating in the news so what they do is not in isolation and it's not quiet, that we can raise their voices in that regard. So that's how we are supportive. We can mentor. Young people and old people too need mentoring. Right? There are people who have been down a path we are about to go down who can give us insight into that path. And by sharing that wisdom and insight, by being mentors, that helps create a sustainable peace also. We can practice healing. So there are healers among us. There are those who move energy through Reiki. There are those who know aromatherapy. There are those who know how to soothe in terms of mental health. Sharing those skills, because we have a world that is really desperate for peace at this point in time.
Thank you. Thank you. Last question for Annie. What role women artists can play in the quest for progress towards peace?
What role?
What role, right? From your perspective as an artist, as a musician.
Well, I think a very big and important role, and that's actually the art itself and the many facets of art, from healing effects, as you mentioned, to enjoyment, to joyfulness, and everything. And I think for women artists, it's very important that they are trying through art and through all forms of expression of art, try to create harmony where there is not enough harmony, and to enhance it when there is a lot of harmony. So I think the role is very important, and I would like to mention again, it's not about women artists, it's about all the artists, whether women or men. And but there is a little bit more maybe that women can do is again their role as a first teacher for the children. I came across a statistic that in average people watch 4 to 6 hours of TV in the US and a little bit less in other countries. And that is 9 to 15 years of a life. So it's not only wasted time, but it's actually not good for the brain, not body, and not for the society, because I see also as a teacher in many young people and in many countries that I have worked with adult students, but especially with children, they are not able really to think and to reflect. They are not even able very good to conduct a conversation at their level. And that is because they are just limited through this consummation. And I think the role of women as first teacher is to teach children another discipline and reduce that. And maybe if 1 hour less TV, it makes many years. And with that, everybody can learn beautifully play an instrument or learn painting, dancing. So these are all put together the role of artists actually to help establish all these things, yeah, and change the society.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all three of you being in this conversation. We learned a lot, and we're going to keep this learning. I also want to recognize we have a Karen Boxer. She's the current coordinator of Mediators Beyond Borders, that I'm also working closely with them. On the issue of peace, there are a whole host of community dialogue that's happening, particularly with African American community and police, that was very empowering for the people, that in a safe environment they can express themselves without being afraid, or without being afraid of being shot or anything. So there are a whole host of local initiatives that we all, men and women, can be involved in building peace locally. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So we're here today talking about this really big idea of peace, right? And then we just tease you with like 10 minutes of a conversation. So hopefully after today, you'll take time to, again, meet people you haven't met yet, follow up with some of the guest speakers. Maybe they said something that left you thinking. I wrote down notes for each of them. So I want to thank again Fran, Jan, and Annie. This idea, Annie, thank you, because in a generation where everyone is constantly like slamming the millennials, for you to say that young people have what they need is that space of empowerment, that's beautiful. And that's something that we can all take and kind of repeat and put out there. That's not something we hear very often, especially in this context of talking about space. For Jan to remind us that people are hungry for this. People actually want this. This is not some concept out there in the world. People want this, whether it's the peace in your family, in your society, in the immediate community where you live, and then globally. It's much more wanted than not. What would it look like if we all talked about that more, if we changed those conversations, starting at home, in the workplace? Yes, most of us are probably here, right? Because we're the weirdos who bring it up at work, yes? Even if that's not what we're paid to do? What would it look like? So we are creating that world that we want. So let's take a moment to give all ourselves an applause and a thank you and a look across the table and a congratulations. Peace is not the easy work, and it's not the short-term work. It's long-term work. So, those of us who started young, we got a long road, but we also have folks in front of us who are showing and modeling what that work looks like. We're getting ready. I'm stalling. We're getting ready for a moment that we're going to share with San Francisco. So I think that's very cool.
Hello, San Francisco. I think you're seeing us. We have Soon Young Yoon here. We're a little behind, but we're going to bring her up anyway, and we are giving her our first Global Circle of Courage Award today, and we will do that after she actually responds. So, so is the way of the world of technology. And, we've been working, grassroots. Soon Young is at the UN. I always refer her to as the number 2 woman at the UN, the other being the Office of Women. But she's a grassroots woman, and she likes meeting with us on the ground, and she has, in fact, made sure that the other 4 regions of the United Nations also have civil society organizations there. So I think in San Francisco, you already know Soon Young, and we're just going to put her on now so you can see and hear what she has to say today.
Hi, everyone here and in San Francisco. I humbly accept this award, which I have not been given. And I congratulate all the other awardees who have not received their award either. And I'm particularly honored to be here with you because the Women's Intercultural Network has really been a great partner at the United Nations. And it is no exaggeration to say that organizations like WIN are what really make the United Nations stronger. So thank you very much for your efforts in doing that. So Women's Equality Day reminds us that, I believe in 1920, women in the United States first won the right to vote. And I also believe that it is 29 years after New Zealand got the right to vote. But what matters is not the date that we won our right, but what we do with that right and how we exercise it. A few weeks ago, I was in Surabaya, Indonesia, and I met a woman who's affectionately called Risma, who the Washington Huffington Post has called Indonesia's great secret. And she really did the impossible because she was one of the first elected women mayors in the largest Muslim country in the world. Risma, a few days after she was elected, she's an architect, she began to change the wastelands of Surabaya into parks. And that transformed the lives of everyone in that city. Lights went up in dark and very dangerous streets, and music began to be played in the public parks. One night I was walking along the river and I saw women with young babies, teenagers, and old people all clapping to a popular band. And one man turned to me and he said, "She has changed our lives. We feel like we're living in a new era." So I was in Surabaya for a meeting, which was in preparation for a UN meeting called Habitat 3. That meeting is on urban settlements and housing. And during that meeting, a young leader turned to me and said, "Why are you so excited about this CEDAW?" And I thought about that long afterwards and about my relationship to that particular treaty. As you know, that is a legally binding international treaty that is now ratified by 189 countries. I actually first read CEDAW 35 years ago when I was serving as a member of the Secretariat for the Second World Conference on Women in Copenhagen. I remember thinking, why do we need a new policy document when this particular document seems to cover everything that we need to cover? It covers political, economic, social, cultural, civil rights. And Article 7, by the way, guarantees all women the right to vote. Article 13 guarantees the right to family benefits, bank loans, mortgages, credit, as well as the right to participate in sports. And most important, that treaty requires governments to prevent discrimination as well as provide remedies. So in addition to what we have in that elegant text called CEDAW, we have a committee of 23 members. They're called the CEDAW Committee, who act a little bit like judges, who interpret the law for governments and to whom governments report. They also issue what we call general recommendations, and so far they've done 34 of them. These general recommendations are a little like amendments to the treaty. They cover areas where they feel there was not enough understanding about what governments should be reporting. The one that you spoke about in the previous panel really covers violence against women, which was not covered so well in the original text. General recommendation number 30, which I followed and participated in discussions and dialogues about, is the one on women in conflict prevention, during conflict and post-conflict situations, the kinds of protections that we can now call upon to help the girls of Boko Haram. The committee has also made an important statement on climate change, and I'd like to read you a part of that statement because it's a very important sanctioning of the committee on our role in it. From CEDAW's examination of states parties' reports, it is apparent that climate change does not affect women and men in the same way and has a gender-differentiated impact. However, women are not just helpless victims of climate change. They are powerful agents of change, and their leadership is crucial. What surprised me was at that Copenhagen conference, none of the governments, it seemed, shared my enthusiasm for that treaty. In fact, most of them pretty much ignored it and put it away in the shelves of their government offices after they signed. But a lot has changed since then. The once obscure treaty, along with this Beijing Platform for Action that many of you participated in helping to shape, have become the gold standards for what we understand to be the policy guidance and the legal guidance for gender equality and women's empowerment. So by now you know I have become a quack lawyer. I'm an anthropologist by training, not a legal expert, but I think I'm totally in love with this role. And I would love to have you become a quack lawyer as well. Because I think if all of us took some of these well-written UN treaties, understood them better, and helped to make that translation for our communities and our cities, we would see a lot of change happen very fast. Most urgently, in this election year, can a woman become president of the United States? So what brought CEDAW to life? What made CEDAW a part of this conversation on elections? The answer is you, the feminist and women's movements, along with and working with governments and with members of the CEDAW committee. The really, really good news is that this Cities for CEDAW campaign is once again breathing new life into this treaty. So what is this campaign? A lot of you in this room probably can explain it as well as I can, but I wanted to share with you my own experience with it and my own sense of what it means to me. When I look at the issues that the UN is grappling with today, I think the number one issue for our entire world is climate change. If we don't get that right, we are going to unravel so much progress that we've made in the areas of equality and development and peace. So our Cities for CEDAW campaign has to keep that vision. And we do have to get gender equality and women's rights there to create a much more resilient and vibrant democracy, because it is democracies that is going to help move this agenda to its right place. And why should we be hopeful? Because dear San Francisco in 1998 adopted CEDAW as a city ordinance, meaning that it was legally binding. It was a wonderful moment in UN history because it was the first time that a UN treaty had ever become legally binding at the city level. And using that leverage, dramatic changes were made in how the city evaluated the impact of public spending on women's welfare, gender stereotyping in public works and transport, and the most important part of the climate change equation. And gender balance in the fire and police departments became possibilities. As many of you know, between 1998 and 2013, other cities, including Los Angeles and Berkeley, as well as the state of California, and we hope the state of Oregon, enacted similar initiatives. Then in 2015, when I was chair of the NGO Committee on the Status of Women in New York, we collaborated with the Mayor's Office of San Francisco, the San Francisco Department on the Status of Women with Dr. Emily Marassi and Marilyn Fowler of WIN to launch a Cities for CEDAW campaign in the United States. As part of his commitment to this campaign, imagine our surprise when we learned that Mayor Garcetti of Los Angeles issued an executive directive on CEDAW in 2015. Part of this was a 5-part report that was laying the basis, the picture of what Los Angeles looked like in its leadership, women and veterans, education, and women in the workforce and public safety. And that executive director on CEDAW created a gender equity coalition powered by the Commission on the Status of Women in New York. He is my hero at this point. So here in California, we know that other cities are moving, and you will forgive me if I do not mention your particular effort, but I would like to congratulate Irvine, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, as well as Orange County for your grassroots work in this campaign. You join Ashland and Eugene in Oregon, Kansas City, Louisville, New York City, Pittsburgh, Sarasota, Washington, D.C., Miami-Dade County, Wake County, and many more other initiatives at different levels who are moving in the direction of San Francisco and Los Angeles. I can also add from my own meetings with city officials, Reykjavik in Iceland, Port of Spain, Trinidad, Tobago, Taiwan, and also Vienna of Austria are interested in this campaign. We need and we appreciate you all. I love this campaign. First of all, I love it because it shows that city officials, when they work together with the women's movement, come up with very, very creative ideas on how to make the UN relevant to what's happening locally. Secondly, I like it because it requires us, members of the feminist, and I say feminist to include men, like many of you who are married to really great feminist men, and the women's movement to answer really tough questions, which means that when we advocate for CEDAW, we also have to understand it more deeply and learn to defend it as well and find its gaps if there are any. And the third reason I love this campaign is because it shows to the world that a human rights instrument passed in some hall of some big building can actually be a useful tool for changing people's lives, and you can measure that change. And I think it is a wonderful connection. In this case, it can happen in a country that has not even ratified CEDAW. The US is one of 5 which is not ratified. President Carter did sign, which is wonderful, but the U.S. is one of 5 that has not ratified. So my takeaway from this experience is that UN treaties are definitely more than international law. They establish the floors of standards of governance, but they should also provide ethical guidelines for corporations and for citizens. They bring the weight of global consensus with them, and they tie us to global accountability mechanisms. So making CEDAW legally binding at any level actually makes expert interpretations of committees like the CEDAW committee available to us. And I invite you to go online and read some of their judgments because they are available to you. The naysayers in many countries complain that this is interference in our domestic laws. And I have to say, this makes our good laws better. There's also a political payoff, which I want to share with you. At the National Mayors Conference in San Francisco, one mayor sat down next to me and said, "Why should I sign CEDAW?" I said, "Well, I'll give you one reason." I said, "No woman in that city is going to be mad at you." And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, you know, that women's groups that wants better public daycare, and then there's the group that wants better health care. There's the group that really wants the city to act on equal pay for equal work, and there's the group that feels as though they've been discriminated against because of their religion at some bank. You are going to be able to tell them, I care about your issue, and I have something in hand that is going to address all of your demands." So he laughed, and then he thought about it, and he looked at me, and he said, "You are absolutely right." So I feel as though change is coming very fast, but we need to set our benchmarks much higher. The challenge of climate change is a very urgent feminist and women's movement issue. If the voices of women and girls are not heard in every small town and in every megacity of this world, we are not going to be able to save our planet in time. It's a matter of scale, and it's a matter of speed. Exercising our right to vote and our political voice is the key. And we are on the wildest roller coaster ride in human history because we cannot predict where this ride is going to end. So I am a practitioner of yoga in the morning for exercise. So deep breathing helps, but so does knowing that you're in really good company and looking around here in this room and sharing our space with our friends in San Francisco. I feel as though I personally am with really great people. So I would like to invite you all to join in an event which we hope to host the early part of October, which will be our second national virtual conference on cities for CEDAW. And with that, I would like to thank Wynn once more for the award I have to receive, which I'm going to be happy to see very soon. To our friends in San Francisco for your support for Cities for CEDAW, and to all of you for being my personal inspiration. Thank you.
So, June, do you want to come up and then now we can officially award her? I have to go get the award.
Well, maybe I'll just use this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm June Zeitlin. I'm with the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights and the Leadership Conference Education Fund, which is a coalition of over 200 mostly national civil and human rights organizations based in Washington, D.C., that has worked on every piece of civil rights legislation since the late 50s. I haven't done it that long, I can assure you. I was at the youth table, but we have been working on treaty ratification in the United States, particularly CEDAW, which I'll focus on, but also the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, which President Obama signed in 2009, but the Senate has yet to see fit to ratify. So I've had the pleasure of working with Marilyn as part of our work on Cities for CEDAW, and of course with Sun Young, who's been this incredible inspiration to all of us. I've known Sun Young in her many hats, and we go kind of in and out, but it's really been exciting to work together with Sun Young and Marilyn on Cities for CEDAW. What I'm going to do is just give you a little background, although I feel like it's kind of irrelevant. Now that you've heard her, you understand why she is such an energizer and visionary, and has really encouraged not only those of us in the United States, but elsewhere to take up this call. But just let me say a few words about Sun Young. So Sun Young Yoon has served as the UN representative for the International Alliance of Women and chair of the NGO Committee on the Status of Women in New York. And although that's a volunteer position, and to be effective like Sun Young has been, it's almost a full-time, or more than a full-time position, because you're doing a lot of the work coordinating and facilitating women's groups like WIN and the Leadership Conference and NGOs throughout the world, not just the country, in the annual meeting of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. So Sun Young has played a very important leadership role in that. She also serves as the first vice president of the Conference of NGOs, which is the association of all of the NGOs globally affiliated with consultative status at the UN. In addition, Sun Young played an important role, as she mentioned, at the 1995 Conference of Women in Beijing, and we won't mention all of the 5-year follow-ups that continue. And the Habitat Conference that she mentioned also has had a series of meetings. In addition, Sun Young serves on the board of several organizations. I'm going to mention one that's very dear to my heart because I used to work there as well. That's the Women's Environment and Development Organization. We Do. Some of you may remember our dear Bella Abzug, who founded We Do and really began to bring gender equality and women's rights issues into the environmental movement, which Sun Young has really picked up a lot of that leadership, and especially you heard her passionately on climate change. In addition, she serves as a consultant to the World Health Organization on a wide variety of issues. So as you can see, Sun Young is a woman of many talents, and I think we feel very grateful that she's here today and has really introduced to you in a very substantive way the Cities for CEDAW campaign. So I'm going to turn it over to Marilyn, who's going to present this award.
Well, so since we're backing up on everything, we didn't really give June an adequate introduction, who's been the civil society partner in the U.S. Cities for CEDAW campaign. And June is the public policy chair, I think that's accurate, for the U.S. Convention Conference on Civil and Human Rights. And that, as you know, that covers a lot. Thank goodness for them. You know, we're having a lot of those issues come up. She is in D.C. fighting for us. She has been fighting on CEDAW for at least the last 20 years. And she joined in with us when Sun Young founded Cities for CEDAW, and we joined in from when. So we are all together on this. But I just have one little story on Sun Young. Also, I always call her the number 2 woman at the UN because the number 1, of course, is the woman that runs the women's office at the UN. But I have just watched her over the years, and I love watching her because she is basically a grassroots worker globally. And when we had our first conversation about CEDAW, before I knew what she was going to get us into, she said, what do you think that we get all the mayors in the world to become a CEDAW city? And I mean, she's doing that. She is going mayor to mayor, you know, from India to Singapore to Germany, wherever she is. Right, right. And she loves being with the grassroots. That's really where her heart is. So our award, our Circle of Courage Award, we've been giving since 2003, actually. The first one went to Senator Barbara Boxer, and we have given it to other women, some grassroots, some known, some not known, but these are our warriors, and these are the women that have stepped outside the bounds, that are not afraid to go for the hard work and to really seriously fight for women's equality, all the women. So with that, I want to give Soon Young our award, which we, this year we're calling it our first global Circle of Courage Award, and I'm going to wrap this around her neck, and then we are going to take a quick break, and then we will have our conversation on CEDAW. So we want to hear from some of you out there. Soon Young.
So she mentioned grassroots, and all I have to say, I've seen a lot of grass. There's a lot of grass out there. I'll never get this award.
Well, you don't have to undo it once we get it done.
Yeah. We'll work on it.
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
Wonderful.
So,
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it will be all right. And we'll get your picture with it.
All right. So this next panel, again, we're going to hear just a bit of a conversation. The facilitators today knew that there wouldn't be enough time. I mean, right? Each dialogue can be 2 hours long, yes? And that would be without us asking questions. So instead, what they've done is formulated a way of just having a couple of minutes per speaker, but to get us thinking about the bigger, broader issues. Again, because this is long-term work and because we'll be taking that with us. So this next community conversation is going to actually talk about the actual follow-up to what Soon Young brought up, which is what does it actually look like to implement CEDAW locally and globally? So the name of this particular panel is Implementing CEDAW Locally and Globally, a Tool for Equality and Development and Peace. So you're going to hear from June again, June Zetlin. She'll be moderating this panel. And if we can have our guests come up, Soon Young Yoon, Tanya Pineda, Gloria Salas, and Nazanin Amani. If you can come on up and join us.
We decided, because we're a little behind time, and Soon Young gave a great overview of what the Cities for CEDAW campaign is all about. She preempted everything I was going to say at the beginning, but that's great. So we thought, and because I just want to say one thing to emphasize one point, and that is that California has had incredible national leadership on the Cities for CEDAW campaign. And she mentioned San Francisco. You're going to hear from Los Angeles. They're doing incredible work. And so 3 of the 5 cities that have actually passed a binding ordinance are in California. And there are many other cities in California and counties, and others that are taking up CEDAW. I think more than a third of the cities nationally that are working on CEDAW are in California. So being all the way across the country, I'm so inspired to be here and actually meet and talk to people in person who I often only talk to by email. And to meet people who I haven't met before. So what we're going to do is there are 2 people here who have experience in getting CEDAW adopted in their community and actually implementing it here in Los Angeles. So what I'm going to do is have Tanya introduce herself very briefly and then talk about the implementation in Los Angeles, and then Nazneen, who's going to talk about getting the resolution passed in Long Beach and their efforts to begin to implement it. And then we're going to have Soon Young, who you've heard from, and Gloria Salas from the Zonta Club of Burbank comment on their presentations. And in that way, we hope that we'll kind of stick more or less to the time. And there are other people in the audience like Rupsi from Orange County and others who have worked on Cities for CEDAW. And if we have a few minutes, we hope that they'll be able to come into the conversation. So, Tanya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Pineda. I'm a representative of Mayor Eric Garcetti's office. My work focuses around gender equity and achieving gender equity within city operations. As Sun Young said, Mayor Eric Garcetti released Executive Directive number 11 that was launched about exactly a year ago now, actually, in reference to gender equity within city operations. So a lot of initiatives it's an exciting time for gender equity for the city. As Sun Young also stated, it marked the development of the Gender Equity Coalition, which means there's representatives of the mayor's office that are dedicated to achieving gender equity. There's also the Commission on the Status of Women that was reappointed. And there's also gender equity liaisons that have been established upon all departments within the city. So together we all make up the Gender Equity Coalition. In response to the executive directive, the mayor had it so that each department and agency within the city developed a gender equity action plan. So in the last year, we've been in the process of implementing those goals that each department has established in regards to achieving gender equity. And now that we are actually seeing results with that progress, we are in the process of developing a gender equity scorecard to track the metrics associated with those implementations. So I think it's really awesome because it's kind of giving accountability to the city. We are putting all these efforts into place. So now we can associate the positivity and the overall outcomes that are associated with implementation of CEDAW. So just for additional context, the Gender Equity Action Plans focused around 4 key areas. The first was recruitment into leadership. The second is recruitment into STEM and public safety. The third is city services to increase the gender parity for women and girls. And then the third is improving contracting opportunities for women-owned businesses. So each department within the city has really focused on developing all those key areas in addition to several others. But we're really excited with the launch of the Gender Equity Scorecard to track the metrics associated with that progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. I just want to say this is the first city, I think, to have a gender equity scorecard. San Francisco has done some gender equity work in implementing CEDAW, but I don't think any other city has had a scorecard. So you're going to be a model for all of us.
Okay, so after what Tanya said and what Sun Young mentioned about CEDAW, which is very elaborate, I just want to share my story. I don't have many things to say, but I want to share my story. I learned about CEDAW 4 years ago, actually. And when you guys were in China in 1995, I was delivering my baby. So, boy, which I'm very proud of. He's the one feminist I can say, 2 boys, 2 feminists. I became to know about CEDAW, and then I was educating myself online, and I realized, wow, I was appalled that my country, Iran, and my residence country, US, are walking shoulder to shoulder in not ratifying CEDAW. I was appalled, and I was disappointed. And I said, okay. And by the way, I work full-time, so I don't have many leisure time at my hand. And I said, so enough of talk. What can you do, Nazanin? What is it? I mean, you want to sit and just be saying Farsi neq, to neq bezan about why is this not implementing, why is that? What can you do? So I happen to know our city council person. And I said, I'll make an appointment. So I made an appointment, and she's a wonderful lady. I met her, and I said,
okay, did you hear about SIDA? She said, what is SIDA? And I knew, so I explained a little bit. And then she said, oh, I'm all for it. What can we do? I said, I prepared some slides for her, and I said, this is what we should do. And she was, it's hard to get their attention. They're very busy. So she said, yeah, send me some information. I sent some information. 2 months passed. Nothing happened. So I called her again. I said, did you receive the things I emailed you? She said, oh, yeah, I was so busy, I forgot. Anyways, this journey took over 9 months, back and forth, meeting with her, everything, until it was in December time frame. I believe it was in December time frame. And I met Susie Price, and I said, you know what? You don't want to fall behind this wagon that's going ahead. She said, what wagon? I said, it's Women's Day, March 8, 2016. You want to take this to the city of Long Beach and pass this resolution in the city by March 8. She said, oh yeah, we should do that. And so I gave her an agenda and then prepared her. And then she said, should we do it on March 1st? No, I said, no, we have an event on March 1st. So you got to take this on March 1st. Our event is on March 5th. So anyways, all I'm trying to say, my story, is that I had no idea how to take this in our city. I was just somebody like anybody in this audience, and I just took upon myself to take this to our city and demand this. City council people are the people who are there. We are their constituents. They are there to help us achieve what we want to achieve. So, and this is what politics are. And I realized this was a very interesting journey for me. I realized in the lack of our initiative, in the lack of our presence, who is going to occupy our space there? We always say things about politicians and all of that. But when we are not there, who is going to take our space? When we are not there to voice the women's agenda, the women's right, who is going to be there? So I'm encouraging all of you. If I can do it, anybody in the world can do it. And also, I just want to say one last thing. Last night we were at a celebration together with June, Marilyn, everybody, a lot of people here, celebrating the 19th Amendment 96th birthday. August 26th is the 96th birthday of the 19th Amendment, which is women's voting right. And I told myself, we're going to soon, hopefully, have a women president. If not, who cares? We have to make, if Ines Milholland, who was one of the pioneers of women's voting right, was able to fight for this and make this happen 96 years ago, it's a long time. We should do something drastic before 2020, which is the 100th anniversary of this. And what would that be?
Ratify SIDA.
We should ratify, not only ratify SIDA, we should make sure that the Congress, we should make a march like Ines Milholland. All the women should make a march in all the states in the United States to make sure nobody is going to escape that. We have to have SIDA ratified by 2020.
Actually, I think it should be ratified in 2017 when we have a first woman president myself, but, I appreciate that. Maybe, Gloria, would you like to say a few words about your experience? I think it follows very well from Nazine. Yeah. I think it's...
Well, first of all, I belong to the Zonta Club of Burbank, and I've got some of my co-members here. And we had never heard of CEDA until one of our members had attended some meeting in San Francisco sometime last year. And she mentioned it to us at one of our meetings and said that we should look into it. Who wants to volunteer? So there were several of us who volunteered to look into this CEDA. And as we started going online and looking into it and wondering what in the world, how could this have escaped us? You know, this is a movement, and it's a movement that's been going on for a long time, and most of us didn't know anything about it. But in the interim, we started reading some of the material that was online, contacting some of the people who had emails posted, and for some reason, the first person I was in touch with was someone in Sarasota. And everyone is busy, so it takes a while to get in touch with people and get a response. But then she led me to someone else, and that person led me to someone else. And at some point, I was in touch with Araceli, and she put me in touch with Marilyn. And from there, it kind of just snowballed. We kept bringing up updates at our Zonta meeting, and let's get some more information. And of course, in any type of campaign, anything that you introduce, there will always be a very, very few people who will say we may not be able to get it through our city, or let's wait for city council to change. But we've got some young people in our group who have the energy to help us along that path. But our city, Burbank, I'm sure most of you know about it, is a very small city. So you live next door to your mayor, or your children go to school with your council people's children. So you're on first name basis. And eventually we meet up with people, and I was able to get in touch with one of our council members just the other day, and spoke to her and gave her a brochure about CEDA and all the information that I've been able to gather. And then I will be having dinner with another council member, and little by little, it's a matter of contacting, because it's hard when you make an appointment to talk to someone when they're conducting city business and they're just about to go into a meeting, or they're getting out of a 6-hour meeting. They're not always that attentive. So I've found that making appointments to go to dinner or to lunch, you're able to sit down without someone taking notes of your conversation and just present it to them. It's not in violation of the Brown Act. It's just something to present to them and let them know that this is what you're interested in, and let's have a dialogue. How do we get this started? Which is why I'm so excited that these two ladies are here, so that we can, just get some information from them and see what the process is from there. Because LA is a big city, so you have a lot of funds. Well, at least more than Burbank does. And to start some of the surveys that are required, and how do you find, what to go from step A to step B to step C, and then finally, like in Long Beach, go ahead, tell them, let's ratify this, let's get this on the books. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here as well, to get that information so that we hopefully can make Burbank a CEDA city as well. Thank you.
So part of what we wanted to do on this panel is show you that, as I think Nazine said, anybody in this room can begin the campaign. And you have, examples of large cities led by the mayor. So sometimes it's from the top down, sometimes it's from the bottom up. And I think, as Sun Young said, this is an area where there's been a lot of cooperation between women's groups and the government, because we share the same objective of trying to move towards a more gender equal society. And there's no one cookie cutter way to do it. Each place will do it a little differently depending on their own situation and what the priorities are, because one of the things about CEDA is it is the most comprehensive women's human rights treaty that there is, and it covers every area, every aspect of public and life, as well as women's private roles and stereotypes about women. So in each place, there might be different priorities that the city or town or county wants to focus on. So we do call it Cities for CEDA, but it's a great acronym, and I thank Sun Young for coming up with it, but we're not restricting the campaign only to cities. And we have here a representative from Orange County, Roopsie, who maybe you want to say just a word or two about what you're doing there?
So Orange County has 34 cities, and we have been working with almost 17 cities at this point. We either know the mayors. I harass them by sending them emails about CEDAW. So they are quite bombarded. Like every 2 months, they get an email from me. I'm sure they don't like it, but they hear about CEDAW. The idea is to keep it in their ears. So that's what I'm doing. It doesn't matter if you understand it or not, but you hear CEDAW. So then once when, if you are in a public forum, when somebody talks to you, at least you know, oh, there was an email about it, probably I should have read it. That's my purpose. That's where I'm going with this. But the actual thing is that the county supervisor's office reached out to me. They are very interested. And we have, as I said, 17 cities are slowly coming on board. Orange County has taken up a stance where we actually want to wait till the new election, till the elections. The current the council people that we are working with, some of them are receptive, but they even go up to the mayor and then something happens and it doesn't pass. So we are not discouraged because we did get one city. It is the city of Laguna Woods. And they passed CEDAW, and it was huge for us because it was the first time it happened. I almost cried. Oh my goodness. But that was huge. But the Orange County Supervisor's Office, if they adopt CEDAW as the county, it is going to make a huge difference, and the other cities will probably latch onto it much sooner. So we have a strategy, and it's good to have a strategy, but again, each city is unique. Just because it's working for the 34 cities in Orange County does not mean it's going to work for any city in Los Angeles. Every city is unique. Know the politics of the city. You must know your political contacts, and you must work with them. Even though CEDAW is bipartisan, it has nothing to do with politics, but you have to know your political leaders in order to pass it. So that's one of the key things that we've learned in the last 1 year working in Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't really have much time, but I'd like to ask Tanya maybe one other question, particularly about the relationships between the mayor's office and the women's groups and how you're working together and where there might be some challenges. And then I'm going to ask Soon Young to comment and kind of wrap up the panel.
So I definitely think scale is one of the things that LA definitely we deal with. There's 35 departments in the city of Los Angeles. So being able to just access data and kind of tell a story with the data. Personally, that's one of the things that I'm currently dealing with in the development of this scorecard. But there's also just immediate things that can also take place. I know one of the things that the mayor did during has done during his administration is reach that all commissions in Los Angeles have female representation. So that's one of those things that have taken place. So there is now female representation on all commissions in Los Angeles. Ana Guerrero is the first female Latina chief of staff. So that's also a very exciting initiative. And like I said, the Gender Equity Coalition, the establishment of all those entities within the city, I think, is really crucial because each department deals with a different type of skill. They all have their own work. So just kind of coming to an understanding, but I genuinely believe that all the gender equity liaisons that represent each of the departments in the city of Los Angeles really has a passion for this. So that adequate representation is really powerful also.
Thank you.
Thank you. As you were presenting your stories, I was reminded this morning of a very teeny tiny incident that I want to share with you, which is this top that I'm wearing now had a fault in it, and I needed to move one of the snaps from one side to the other side in my hotel without any scissors to do this job of sewing. And so I took a safety pin and I started to pull apart the sewing of one snap.
And I noticed that it was really, really hard to do, even though it was just a bunch of threads. And so I was able to pick it apart one thread at a time from a piece that had been thrown. And it reminded me of the way the women's movement works. So each story is a thread, and each of your threads is a combination of threads because you worked with everyone else. And it becomes so strong that you cannot easily snap it off or pick it off or destroy it. So it took me an awfully long time to do this, and each time I did this, I kept thinking of the people who have actually contributed to this work, which we are calling the Cities for CEDAW. So I think that's a good thing to remember. Every voice counts in this process, and every voice is important. And the other thing that I realized in my own experience with this is that the reason why we want to have the second, a virtual national conference, it's cheap. It's able to bring in a lot of people, but it's also able to bring you from wherever you happen to be, including women who work and men who are actually trying to juggle involvement in this from their city office. So we will open this up to registration. It's a totally open registration online, and we hope that we will be able to present to you a program which includes, last time we had the Undersecretary General of the Human Rights Office, Dr. Simonovic. We had the head of UN Women, Deputy Head Lakshmi Puri speak, and we had Ambassador from Croatia, from Vienna, who was a CEDAW expert speak. So you get a little bit of education, you get a little bit of information about CEDAW and how it's doing, but you will also be able to break into discussion groups by city or by state. And we will be able to sort your thing. And the latest of the Maestro conferencing tool that we're trying to use, I hope, will allow you to move yourself from discussion room to discussion room if you're on your computers. So we think this is really a way to share information, and the strength that can come from just knowing what another city's innovation is in working for their Cities for CEDAW resolution, and hopefully eventually that ordinance can be very empowering for you. So I would like to invite you all to join us.
So just before we close, in terms of accessing information, so you don't have to go like Gloria from one person to another. We do have a website. WIN and the Leadership Conference are trying to maintain it. It's citiesforcedaw.org, and it is fairly up to date now with all of the resolutions and ordinances that have been adopted by different cities, and also lists the cities and cities that are in process, cities that have outcomes, and we're looking forward to the new information from LA on the implementation of the directive, because as an executive action, it's quite unique, and that may be a route that other cities want to follow. So please, Marilyn will be sending out information after this, but there's actually a fair amount of resource material that you can at least get started on, and contacts, that we can help facilitate. So thank you all very much for your, yeah, sure.
So just to help you to get more summarized information, because that is very helpful. I prepared a PowerPoint of presentation for CEDAW, which I believe we have uploaded to WIN's website. But even if you go online and Google Cities for CEDAW, the presentations, there are many, many presentations by different individuals available. You can just cut and paste that, and you can use that to prepare your own personalized presentation to take it to your city. So I think that would be very helpful.
Anybody else? I know we're at the end. Okay. No, we'd be happy to talk to you during the next break. So thank you all. Thanks to the panelists. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, everyone. Now, if Nazanin is not an example of what activism looks like, right? Oh, I don't know. I don't do nothing. You know, I just hang out at home, raise my kids. You know, my son's a feminist, you know, little things like that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. That's the importance of what makes all of us come up and be who we are. We're going to move into a little bit of arts for the senses, for the heart, for the space, for the spirit. So I'd like to ask our performers to get ready to come on up because I know they're going to need some space, so I should get out of the way. We're going to be hearing from Shala Sarakoni. So what I've been told is this is vocals in Turkish and Farsi and English. What I love that she shared with us that some of her early work is learning traditional music in Azerbaijan and currently teaching voice. There's such a big place for art. If art didn't exist, activists would burn out faster than we do. Right? We owe you so much for holding us up, for creating that space that holds us when everything is really, really hard, like right now, 2016, like that. Like in an election year where we're hearing messages that are so the opposite of peace that we couldn't imagine that they make their way to everyday television, and yet they do. So with that, the next two performances are going to allow us a chance to take something in, refresh, revitalize, and get a little music going. So with that, I'd like to first introduce, again, Shala to come up, and she'll be accompanied by Mr. Yusuf Zamani, and hopefully I said your name right. So if I can ask you to come on up and share some of your pieces with us, please.
نگه کن بر شب و روز من حذر کن زاه پرسوز من بیا تا شبی چون چراغ شبم بیا نام تو شد روان بر لبم بیا تا ببینی صفای مرا بیا تا نشانی لهیب تبم بیا تا نشانی لهیب تبم جان ز تنم گر شد به در سودای تو دارم به سر نگه کن بر شب و روز من حذر کن زاه پرسوز من بیا تا شبی چون چراغ شبم بیا نام تو شد روان بر لبم بیا تا ببینی صفای مرا بیا تا نشانی لهیب تبم بیا تا نشانی لهیب تبم جان ز تنم گر شد به در سودای تو دارم به سر جان ز تنم گر شد به در سودای تو دارم به سر It was the last song. I'm so sorry. I had another song for you about talking about moon again, and the beloved somebody's beloved is far away and waiting for it, and all those stories, different melodies and different phrasing. I was honored to be here, and I am honored to be here with all you ladies, and thank you for having me, Elohijah and dear Marilyn. Thank you.
Thank you again. That was so beautiful. I don't know about Mexican people. We know about the moon. Inshallah, we know about the moon. We sing about bringing it down with the stars. That's our love song. And then just have to love that only artists rock red shoes. Rock red shoes. So Mr. Yusuf Zamani, your shoes are fabulous. We're going to close this evening with two of the awardees you've been waiting for, and with an amazing drum circle. So please stay with us. We're almost there. So I'd like to ask Elahi Amani to come back up, and we're going to go into the next two awardees and then close out with some music. Thank you. That sign-in sheet that I was bugging you about, it's going to pass around, so we need your name, phone number, email, good stuff, right? Otherwise, you don't come to the next party. Thank you.
The only place that I didn't have to check microphone was in China because everybody was my height. So I'm really, really honored to be here and give this award to someone that makes me very, very proud. I even get emotional, of our younger communities. Solmaz Sharif. She was born in Istanbul to Iranian parents. Solmaz Sharif holds degree from UC Berkeley, where she studied and taught with June Jordan Poetry for People and New York University. Her work appeared in the New Republic Poetry, the Kenyan Review, Granta, and others. The former managing director of the Asian American Writers Workshop, her work has been recognized with a Discovery Boston Review Poetry Prize, scholarship from New York University, and the Breadloaf Writers Conference, a winter fellowship at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, an NEA Fellowship, and a Stranger Fellowship, Stegner Fellowship. She has most recently been selected to receive a 2014 Rana Jaffa Foundation Writers Award, as well as Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Fellowship. She's currently a Jones Lecturer at Stanford University. Her first poetry collection, Look, has been published by Grey Wolf Press in 2016, and not long ago, LA Times covered a whole page on her poetry. She's a new voice of emerging literary woman in United States, and I'm very, very proud to give her the Circle of Courage Award to Solmaz Sharif. This is, her name is on it with Win.
Hi, everyone. I'm a woman of few words, which is why I'm a poet. So this will be quick. I just want to read one poem from my new book, Look, which is a poetic rewrite of the U.S. Department of Defense's dictionary. The U.S. Department of Defense has its own dictionary filled with euphemisms that are designed to basically standardize violence. And I will read one poem from a longer section of series of poems called Reaching Guantanamo that I wrote after reading a New York Times article about a Guantanamo inmate in 2008 named Salim Hamdan, who is known as Osama bin Laden's driver. And in it, the article talked about, having to speak through the meal slot and being in solitary confinement for 22 hours a day and having a child that had been born that he'd never heard on the phone. And then there was an aside that said, mail that reaches Guantanamo inmates is late and often heavily censored. So I wrote a series of letters imagining his wife writing to him. Dear Salim, love, are you well? Do they? You? I worry so much. Lately, my hair, even my skin, the doctors tell me it's... I believe them, it shouldn't. Please don't worry. In the yard, and moths have gotten to your mother's. Remember? I've enclosed some, made this batch just for you. Please eat well. Why did you, me too, remarry? I told, and he couldn't, I would never... Love, I'm singing that you loved. Remember the line that went, I'm holding them just for you. Yours. Thank you.
Okay, this is when Mexicans say otra, or if you're in LA, we say it all anyway. Otra. Would you like to do one more? Yes. See, that's the intercultural piece, right?
Mess hall. Your knives tipped down in the dish rack of the replica plantation home. You wash hands with soaps pressed into seahorses and scallop shells, white to match your guest towels, and, like an escargot fork, America, you have found the dimensions small enough to break a man. A wet rag, a bullet like a bishop, or an armless knight of the Ku Klux Klan, the silhouette through your white nighttime window, a quartet plays a song you admire, while outside a ring of concertina wire circles around a small collapse. America, ignore the window and look at your lap. Even your dinner napkins are on fire. Thank you so much.
say, sorry, Narbese, you got to follow that. I'd like to move us. Thank you so much, Solmaz. That was beautiful. Yeah, I think that one's the last one's going to stay. I'd like to introduce Narbese Flint. She's Policy Director of Black Women for Wellness, and she'll be presenting the last award for tonight before we hear some beautiful music.
Hello, everyone. I will be short since there are some very interesting performance. I've seen the drummers before, so I'm very excited to see them again. So I was trolling my mind, trying to think about all the things that Miss Jan Robinson Flint has done. And Elahi gave a great bio, so I just want to tell a story. And if you don't know, Jan Robinson Flint is also my mother. So about 20-something years ago, I had came home and found a group of women that have took over my living room. And they seem to be coming back every single day. And, taking up precious computer time. And I don't know if you guys remember back in those times we had modems. And so you had to dial up. And it took me, I remember, about 30 minutes to get on the Nickelodeon site. So this taking up precious computer time, right? Any time was serious. But little did I know that those women were putting together what is now Black Women for Wellness, which is where my mom is the executive director. And over the years, this organization that she has been the person who leads, visionary of, has been, I think, changed the landscape of what is possible for Black women in Los Angeles. I've seen both outside and inside many young Black women who go on to go to the mayor's office and go to other offices and all into public health because of the leadership that she decided to take. And I remember also looking at it and thinking to myself, I would never work for a nonprofit. Because I was like, ooh, somebody in the family needs to go make some money. And this is not what it is. And the countless hours and work and dedication of what it costs to be in the nonprofit and to do kind of the grassroots work that Marilyn talks so much about. So I would say for all the people at Black Women for Wellness, for all the lives that you have touched over the years in the reproductive justice movement, both here and far, thank you for being my personal shero and the work that you've done that has uplifted and really for the empowerment, health, and well-being of Black women and girls. Marilyn has the...
Thank you, Narbese. Whew. There have been many times when there were a group of women sitting in our living room or in our home and in our space. And when she said, I'm gonna tell you a story, when she came home, and it was a group of women, I was like, oh my God, what story is she gonna tell? Yeah. And so I do remember one time she came home, and do you remember when we had an advocate for you, Jill? And because we felt like she needed to be doing better in school. And so we had an advocate for her, and we had a women's court for Nerbese. And I think that having a women's circle is extremely important, not only for young women growing up, but for us. For when I look at those sisters standing right there, I know I have a circle of women I can call who have good energy, who have high energy to share, and who hold up my back. So, and we all need someone to hold up our back. And who better than a circle of women to do that? So, thank you for the Circle of Courage Award. I appreciate that. It's always good to be appreciated. And thank you, Nerbese, and I'm looking forward to you going and get that high corporate, high-paying job. Okay.
We would love to bring up and have you welcome and move your body. This is the part of the evening where you get to move and be interactive. We're bringing up Shine, Muwasi Women's Drum Circle, what I understood this to mean in the hands of God. And just what a beauty it is to, when women come together in this space, they describe their own music around healing and caring. And there ain't no peace without healing, and there ain't no peace without caring. There ain't no peace without all of us contributing to that. So with that, we want to introduce Shine, and thank you so much for being here this evening. After the music, we invite you to stay and get to know people and sign in, sign in, sign in. We will bug you about that. Thank you so much.
Testing.
Okay. We're Shimawasi, a union of women that practice traditional West African rhythm in this particular scene and part of the diaspora as well. We came here for our dear sister. First of all, congratulations. All the recipients of awards tonight. The artists that came before us and opened up the door. Art is so important to all of our cultures. And I'm going to leave that right there because we came this evening to share with you part of ours. That was called Lamba, and it's a traditional rhythm, song, and movement that's done in the Mali Empire of West Africa. And it's considered a homage. You can use it as praising the universe or someone that you love, like your great-great-grandma or grandpa or your baby. It's a blessing, it's a prayer, it's giving honor to that. And now, since we all know each other, we're going to do a village move right here. 84 LA Foundation right now. You all have been sitting, right? So we're asking the, excuse me, in African culture, it's always honorable to ask the first person, the oldest person in the room can speak. So I'm not going to judge anybody. But who did we say is the oldest person? Okay, oldest person, don't tell it. So this year, I'm no longer telling my age because I do realize people, they put you in a category, don't they? They want to know your business. Somebody turned a light on for me today. Girl, stop telling your age. She's trying to take your job. Oldest person, may we continue. There she is. Y'all give some honor to the oldest class. We may continue, ma'am. Thank you, my dear. Thank you so very much. You are looking beautiful. We're going to do something called cuckoo. It is a rhythm that is done. They say, now you have many interpretations, so if you go look up what I'm doing and something comes back a little different, do not send the music police to my house. I'm doing the best I can, right? Right, you all understand? Some of this stuff in our cultures have been passed down for centuries, and we're doing the best we can to reproduce that for you, because I got a lot of Etta James in me, Diana Krall, you know, B.B. King, come on. So, Steely Dan, the list can go on. So with that kind of blend, we're re-establishing our roots every day, and that's what this organization is about. So it doesn't really matter if you're a beginner or have been doing this for years. It's about the healing of this instrument, the movement, and the singing. Cuckoo is the order of the day. It's a rhythm that's done by the sisters when the moon is full, considered harvesting. So we're just chilling. We might have been to pick berries, things to make baskets with, fish, braiding each other's hair. The men are sleeping, the children are sleeping. It's midnight or so, 10 o'clock. You can see the moon is big. And we sing a song, and we do a dance. Yes, and we drum for each other because the guys they're down. So we're going to do cuckoo. So first, we're going to do it full speed. And then we're going to slow it down so the village of 84 LA Foundation, hello, LA 84? LA 84? It is LA? Okay, I'll say it backwards. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go. Cuckoo. Ukulele, ukulele, watch us, right? It has been scientifically proven that African music, dance, rhythm, reduces blood pressure, sugar. Y'all think I'm fine? I was gonna tell y'all how old I am. I still might be. I'm a grandmother. Some of us are great grandmothers. Come on, sisters. Come on, sisters. Come on. Sister Shannon up in the right seat. You see this logo up on this wall behind us? I see a rainbow of sisters. Now we need to put a little bit more salt, a little bit more caramel in this picture. Get barefooted. Come on. You can take those a little longer. We ain't got some snows in the village. Imagine this is dirt right here. You get the healing of your life. Oh, well, it's going to be so. Now there are men in the village that dance. Women don't do too much of anything without men. I don't see any brothers on the dance floor. Everybody in their first position. This is your position of balance. Watch your heels now. If you have heels on, be careful. Watch. African dance has a meaning, even our first position. And you're going down into the dipping your knees and bring the heels up. And you want to create a bowl with your thighs. That bowl represents your giving and receiving energy from the earth. Everything has a meaning. So from there, we're going to proceed with the dance. Okay. Easy steps. No break.